Hey guys, this is DFD aka Dark Crows and Depths back with another Kamihime project video. Now, looking on screen you can already tell what this one's going to be about. We finally have a confirmation of the crossover. In fact, it should be here less than a day after I post this video. But because it's a crossover event, that means we should have a very reasonable amount of time to actually do it. According to these times on here, it says about 2 weeks, but generally, we've been getting crossovers that lasted like a month long, so who knows for sure. All I know is this. Haruhi has been she's been really on everybody's radar, at least for any fire main. And there's a very good reason for that. But also there's other characters from the Haruhi Suzumiya series that's on here. Me personally, I actually want to get Haruhi, but there's a chance I probably won't. A very good chance of that. If I don't, then there's ways around it, but that's the thing you have to keep in mind. This is a limited event, so if you don't get her, you're probably not getting her. That said, my suggestion to players who did want her, if you don't get her, then definitely have plans for somebody else to be used as well. She pretty much confused a few Hime together, so me personally, I think I could use Daki and Sevarog if I don't get Haruhi. But either way, it works pretty nicely. But the main thing about this event, the fact that it's a crossover event, means that it's going to be easier than normal. So keep that in mind. They suggest that that it's expert level for ultimate. So there's that. But quite frankly, any newer player can pretty much go into this and beat the crap out of this event, if you want to be honest. That said, there's a few things you definitely want to aim for. Definitely the gacha tickets, because that means more shots at Haruhi, even though it's not really a rate boost. For those who really want to get her, I suggest you get the magic jewels as much as you can. Period, point blank. Now, the weapons are dependent on what you may or may not need. I'm going to go over them because I don't exactly know what they are myself. And there's still the basic stuff from the other events, where there's books to get, there's soul points. My suggestion, use a crowd as much as a list as you can, because you're not going to get a second chance at it. So that said, be very diligent in grinding. Because it's a crossover, they give us a lot more scenario stuff, so you can get a lot of magic jewels from that. Now, the big meat of the event is going to be pretty much the 4 stages we know about, which is beginner, standard, expert, and ultimate. Far as I know, go in with any team you feel comfortable, because all these enemies are different elements. Because there is fire, there is wind, and there is dark. Now, interestingly enough, water would probably have one of the better standings in this event, along with light. So, if you're using one of those 2 elements, you shouldn't have any problems whatsoever. If you're using thunder, wind enemies might give you a little bit of trouble. If you're using wind, fire enemies might give you a little bit of trouble. And if you're using dark, you'll just balance out, but it'll just be harder to debuff the dark enemies. But, as far as I can tell, there's literally no boss fights, basically. I mean, they do have an enemy that kind of represents a boss, but it doesn't necessarily make them one. And it's really 2 at once. So, that said, I'm not going to go too into enemy details for the most part. If you are curious about it, you could just look on screen for right here for the time being. But like I said, because it's split between enemies and whatnot, this isn't too hard really. Quite frankly, if you're going to bring anything, AoE hitters, so you can hit multiple enemies at once, and if you decide to burst, it's going to focus on one instead of the other. So if you are not strong enough to immediately take these out so quickly, keep that in mind, because a burst is going to focus on one instead of the other until you get that final extra hit. So unless you're doing 2 or more bursts, you are only hitting one person. So you have to keep that in mind. But as far as it goes, these events aren't that difficult, even with the split enemies. But by the looks of things too, one does have a raging meter and the other doesn't. So just be careful of that one if you do have to struggle a little bit with this. Now, that said, suggested souls, me personally, I would pick someone like, say, Solomon, or maybe somebody that can heal or defend. But basically, you're going to be dealing with multiple enemies, so you gotta keep that in mind. Now, going through the different stuff we can get, this is where it may or may not be a little bit picky on the weapons, because if it is assault, then there's a chance you may need it. That's up to you. If it's defender, then you have an even less chance of needing it. But it's all swords and it's all stabs. Ironically, the fire SSR sword is the one with assault, and the water SR staff is the one with assault. Now, if you do need them to finish off a type of grid, I know water's got access to quite a few staffs, and fire's got access to quite a few swords, then yeah, use that to finish off Phantom Element. If not, easy skip, or you can get them for extra leveling materials. SR weapons do level up some other weapons pretty nicely. When it comes to these collab events too, there's different missions that you can get on here. More or less, just clear the mission every single day, at least 5 battles, and you'll get a lot of extra stuff. And you'll eventually get the 20 mission cleared for that as well. So, the way a lot of these collab events, there's no special clear with certain Kamihime or certain rarity. Just clear the stages. Simple as that. Just do it every day, 5 times a day, and you'll get a lot of extra stuff. But if you are diligently grinding anyways, you probably will. Now, the other thing I should mention too about this is the fact that if you do not know about the Haruhi Suzumiya series, it is indeed, it's a manga and an anime. I think it might have been a light novel as well. But it's a really, really old series, if you want to be honest. It's not bad in my opinion, but there is a part where it does get a little monotonous, because I will say this, and anybody else that knows about the series will say this, there's a section in it called Endless 8 where it's just repeating the same stuff over and over. It is for plot relevance, but at the same time, when you've seen it a few times, you get the whole gist of it until the last part of Endless 8 where it actually changes. So I'm just giving you that warning right now. But I am going to go into Haruhi herself and the reason why people want her. So for that, I will have to go to the SSR list. And there's a lot of characters we've had so far, but because you can see how far I'm scrolling down the list. We've gotten so many characters in the game, and then Haruhi's pretty old too. Just for reference, we've gotten here, and Haruhi's like at least 7 back. Like 6 or 7 back behind that. But anyways, reasons why Haruhi's really, really, really good. First off, her burst. When it's upgraded, she will force herself to get a triple attack the next turn. So that's something to know. And it will tie into her assist ability. Her normal ability nuke will end up hitting enemies 6 times randomly every 5 turns. That's actually pretty frequent for a damaging skill. So that's very, very good. If it's not upgraded, it's going to be 5 times. Now, her second ability is one that will really, really have some focus, because it is a buff that will give everybody higher combo rates, which is more double and more triple. And this is what she can replace Daki for, because Daki does the same thing. And another thing that she has as well is being able to give herself full burst gauges, period, point blank. But it also gives herself attention, meaning it will attract hits towards her. Now, the thing with that is it's a 3-turn attract. So if you do want to draw attention from other Hime, then this could actually help you out. But otherwise, you don't want to draw too much attention to her. But on the plus side, she can use this every 5 turns, which is actually faster than the Soul Arthur. Arthur has this ability, and it's every 6 turns for her. So that pretty much guarantees you can full burst every 5 turns. just off of that alone. But maybe even faster with some decent combo rates and whatnot. But here's where the assist ability kicks in. Whenever she does combo attacks, she'll increase the attack power of all allies. Whenever she does triple attack, she increases the damage off of her ability. So if you can get a lot of triple attacks off, she can do both at once. And that's the key to using her, trying to get as much triple attack as you can. There is a limit on SSR accessories in general, where you can get triple attack. If you really want to optimize triple attack for her, then try to get stuff with Barrage, but it supposedly caps at 5% on your grid. It's not really confirmed. And then what is confirmed is the accessory thing I mentioned, where you get her a tiara set and have as much triple attack on those identifications as possible. Because you can get up to 10% on triple attack at ease. And I do tend to find them quite frequently between Ancient and Devil sets. So to be quite honest, it's still luck based, but you do have a good chance of getting a lot of triple on her. Even a lot of double. But that's definitely my suggestion if you ever pull her. Definitely try to get the tiara set and try to get as much triple attack as possible. It will make her nuke hit a lot harder. And again, the more she combos, the more attack power everybody gets. Now, I don't know if it's got a turn limit, but it definitely does have okay, yeah, see, it does have a turn limit down here, 5 turns. So if you can do that 5 turns straight, then you're going to give everybody a massive 75% attack up just in the stackable frame. So that said, is very good. Honestly, if you want, you can also use her with Sevarog and still stack even further. The way stackable frames work is the fact that they don't override each other. They in fact pile on top of each other. So between her and Sevarog, that's at over 100% in the combo, in the stack frames, just from comboing with Haruhi. There's a lot of options if you want to go that route. But personally, she is very, very good. And then, if you really want to try and do some stuff with her too, it's mainly burst and combo focus, but she can do ability damage as well. So those are her 3 strong points, no matter how you try to build her. And then she can pseudo attract if you want to use it that way, but it's probably not recommended. But she's not the only one that comes with this event as well. There are SR and R-Hime as well. And if we had got this event on time, we would have been able to use one of the R-Hime in the Dark Tower, because she's light based. But that said, I'm going to have to go through the other 2, just in case you pull them as well. Because with the collab event, sometimes there's some SR characters that are pretty good. Like this one, for instance, she was from a Kamihime one, the Thunder SR character. And that was a very, very good one if you did use her. It's just that she's overshadowed by rarity. And there's a lot of SR Hime too. In fact, there might be a chance I went past it. Yeah, I did. That's the other thing I was talking about too. There's a chance you may go past the list. There's a lot of SR Hime. But anyways, this is Yuki Nagato. Her burst is pretty much the normal stuff for SR. What she can do is pretty much be some buff removal, along with maybe a bit of defense. Excuse me. So, that said, she's sort of like a tank, if you want to be honest. The whole thing with Intercept is a counterattack thing, and she can increase water attribute too for herself. And it says give burst gauge in the 3 vanguards. That means it will put your frontline characters with more burst gauge. So that said, she can indeed be pretty useful. It depends on how you use her. Now, if your back characters can actually get a burst a lot faster than your front ones, which usually isn't the case, but you can set it up like that, then you can actually speed up bursts quite a bit. So that's something to know. But that's basically her thing. Excuse me again. And sorry about the coughing, I might have been talking too much already. But anyways, there's one more I have to show. And I don't know how far down she is. Oh yeah, too far. Definitely too far. I know she's light. Okay, there she goes. And honestly, this is the one I want to pull because I thought she was a cuter character of all of them. But anyways, even her, she's actually pretty good with some stuff too. Now, she has to switch her actions, but done right, she can actually do it quite a bit. So it says that her recovery can actually be kind of high. And it says protect allies without performing offensive actions. So that means that she's going to pretty much draw attention, I do believe, but not attack. But at the same time, she can increase burst gauges of all allies as well. She needs a little bit of work with how her setups are. And in fact, she actually has quite a bit of hit rate if you do use that buff. But without it, she's like a smaller Cybele, if you really want to put it that way. So despite the fact that she gets guaranteed combo, it still doesn't change the fact that her accuracy is kind of so-so unless you use her second skill. Well, actually, she gets a third skill. That's what I should say. She's an R character that actually gets 3 skills, so keep that in mind. But, other than that, she could be like a pseudo-tank, but also boosting, burst gauge. So it's basically dependent on how you want to use her, but definitely that combo rate. Combo means that she can guarantee it, but if she misses, then it doesn't give you any burst gauge, so keep that in mind. And they say that she's similar to Bolinus or Boleris, or I don't know how to pronounce her name, but it's still dependent on how you want to use her, basically. I mean, overall as a character, she's not all that good, but she does have her own perks, especially the burst gauge increase, because that's the one thing that tends to get overlooked. If you get a lot of Hime that can increase burst gauges, you can do it pretty rapidly. You don't have to use SSR for it, but that's the thing. Now, there's also something else I want to go over, because this event's also on its way too, so I'm going to try and cover this in that video as well. I just don't know when this is going to happen, but chances are it just might happen after this Union event, because if we follow the DMM schedule, we're going right into this. This is a Labyrinth event, and this is brand new, so you may want to pay attention a little bit. What a Labyrinth event is pretty much like a dungeon crawling type thing, but this one's its beta version, more or less, so things are going to be different after it, but you can get the general idea of it. So, first and foremost, this is a solo event, so again, you're not getting any help. Second, you spend AP in order to go through certain parts of it and defeat enemies. You can rack up a lot of treasure chests and whatnot. And the more you go through, the harder the enemies get. But as far as I know, if you're capable of clearing Advent events, then you're capable of clearing the Labyrinth. So there's that. It's not that hard of a piece of content, if you really want to be honest. And you do get healing items that can be kept after battles and whatnot, but their appearance rates are lower. You may or may not be able to use them outside of battle. I'm not sure. But you have to keep in mind that any buffs, debuffs, burst gauges, and abilities are reset, so you can't carry them over between battles. And if you do lose HP, that carries over as well. So keep that in mind. So the more you go, the more stuff you get, basically. It's more or less like an endurance type of thing, but not like Tower, where you can't use the same characters over and over. It's more characters have whatever HP they have and carry it through. Now, I should mention, this is the first time you should see a weapon that has a range. And that said, the ranged weapons are weird, but ultimately not worth it. Unless you have some seriously specific setup, they're not really worth it. So keep in mind with that one. Now, it said that you have different laps and different costs for all the stuff, standard and ultimate. I don't fully know how much AP it's going to take, but it is very, very grindy. And it says that there's a lot of laps until completion if you're really looking at this right here. So that said, be very, very sure to have a lot of AP on hand, or at least have a lot of potions to recover. Because if you're trying to fully complete this event, then it's going to take a while. If this is looking correctly, it says 380 laps for standard and 140 for ultimate. So, yeah, that's a lot of grinding. Hopefully we got a long time with it too. If we don't, then you just gotta rush it as much as possible. It shouldn't be that difficult, if you want to be honest. And if abilities really are reset throughout each fight, anybody that's stronger can probably just have their ability nukers just go in and just start erasing enemies one after one. And their HP values really don't start all that high. It starts at like 15,000 or so. Most players can do that in one hit. And then it really only goes up to about maybe a million or two or whatnot. So there's that. Now, I don't know if they're here, but with the Labyrinth events, there will eventually be a boss that you just cannot defeat no matter how hard you try. Some DMM players have found a way around it because of like auto life characters and all that, but you're really not meant to beat those enemies. First off, they have like over 1 billion HP, and second, they do over 100,000 damage per hit. You are meant to lose at that point. But I don't know if they have them in this Labyrinth. After the first one, they definitely do. That's a guarantee. But they even have a specific name. It even says, that's it for this floor or something like that. They do look like skill codes, so if you see something that looks like that, then you know you're not supposed to defeat it. So if you remember who Skill Coon is, then yeah. But this is the main reason why you want to do this event. This event list is very, very huge. It is a large one. And there's some stuff that you normally don't get. So keep that in mind. But I'm going to start from the bottom up. You can start trading for all these holy stones and holy crystals. This is a good way to get that. There's wind materials too that you can get. There's the accessory leveling fodder as well. So you can get those on top of that. You can get the standard stuff like gems and grails and stuff like the Adon and weapon materials. You can get both soul points. Keep that in mind. You get the normal ones here, but in the higher section you can get the holy ones. Yeah, right there. You can get both energy seeds and elixirs. You can get higher tier stuff like fangs and runes and the holy stars. You can get a lot of magic jewels from here too. I think it's another 3,000. And then you can get dragonic eye shards. You can get Orichalcon. Well, they call it Orichalcon on the DMM server, and that's actually the real name. I don't know what the translation error is about, but Ori is harder to get for newer players, easier to get for people that's been there for a while, but it is a free Ori, so go get it. There's not that many books from what I can tell. Normally you get like 5, but they're saying there's 3 for the gold books. Oh no. Okay, here's what you need. Yeah, it's 3 gold books by the looks of it. So there's that as well. I don't know if you can trade it multiple times. But from what it's showing, you can still get both. Either way. This is also another very interesting thing that's new. This special 10 ticket. It's looking like it's going to be a 10 draw gacha ticket. yes, they are giving a 10 draw gacha ticket. So definitely go get that. And then there's the 3 weapons, which I'm going to go over. And you probably won't want one of these weapons. I can say that right out the gate. Actually, there's 2 of them. But speaking of which, every single weapon does indeed have some sort of assault. So keep that in mind. However, it's still dependent on what you want. The first weapon can be final break limit, and that is the one you definitely want to aim for, because it will give you a medium critical, a small assault, and a small defender. So that is actually a very good spread. And even if you're not too keen on the stinger effect, which is the critical hit stuff, it's still worth getting. Just because it comes with Assault and Defender that can final break up to 15%. So, there's that. And it is a spear for Wind, and Wind does seem to have some decent access to spears, or to lances. So, you may want to get that, at least for Spear Grid. If not, and you have something better, maybe it's skippable, but there's a very good chance you're going to be using this weapon. So, keep that in mind. Now, the other 2 I would only really get if you need them for special grid. This is actually access to a magic tool for Wind, which is our arcane weapons on our side. And then there's a staff as well. The staff and the magic tool, or the arcane weapon, both give medium assault, and they both cannot final break. So keep that in mind. The second skill is where it gets arranged, and it says to the Shinki place at the beginning of the battle. I don't know if it's to the entire group or not. If it's not to the entire group, it really doesn't make a difference. Yeah, it's not to the entire group. It says to the 3rd character. And then the arcane weapons to the 4th character. So, it doesn't really help too much if it's not the whole group. That's what I mean about their range skills. If it was AoE, it would be very good. But these are just single target. And I've only seen one arranged weapon that may get some use. It puts a, I think it puts a damage cut on a specific Hime, so maybe get a defensive character and you can get that. But it's not really worth getting these unless you really need the assault or the weapon in general for a phantom weapon setup. The spear is definitely the target. The spear is definitely the target. And yeah, it does say that in this trading thing you can get, well, they don't call them Holy Soul Points anymore, they call them Special, because Holy Soul Points have been renamed into Special Soul Points. I don't know why, but they did it. But you can get 150 of those, you can get the normal Soul Points for, you can get 500 of those, you can get 1.5 million gems. I am not making that up. And you can get 3,000 Magic Jewels. So, with this event, there's a lot. There is a lot. Excuse me. So, yeah, by this list, it's actually saying you can get 15 on gold books. 15 gold books and 15 silver books. So, this total is actually saying that right there. So, that said, you can get a lot of stuff. And I do mean a lot. So, try your hardest to get some stuff from this event. Best way to do it is to go all the way through it. So keep that in mind. Not to mention, since you're grinding through all these different fights and whatnot, then yeah, if you can clear ultimate advent events, then you should be able to clear this. That's a given. But anyways, that's all for this. More of the Labyrinth thing might come soon, depending on what I find out about it. But as far as it goes with the Haruhi crossover, definitely try to grind it out if you are trying to pull for her, because it is free magic jewels. And if this Labyrinth actually happens while the Haruhi thing is happening, that's even more magic jewels to attempt for her, so there's that too. Haruhi is not staying. And given that it's a crossover one, it's even less chance of her coming back. So, definitely aim for her, unless you really just don't give a crap about fire. even if you don't give a crap about fire, you might still want her anyways. But that's all I have to say for that. She is still really good no matter what, so those who get her, enjoy her. Those who don't, then all I can say is that luck wasn't with you. It may be the case for me too, because I don't really have too much of a shot at her unless something's changed later down the line. But anyways, that's all for now. More of this is definitely going to come soon, because I'm definitely curious about this Labyrinth event. The crossover is just the same standard stuff, basically, just form and advent. But yeah, I'm actually looking forward to a few things that's coming up. Also, one more thing I should point out too is that it's not just some stuff with the union events that's changed. Double check the news and whatnot. You may want to see what has or hasn't changed, because some of the namings is just weird, but they do mean something. So keep that in mind. And like I said, Holy Soul Points is the same as Special Soul Points. They just renamed it. It's people have been asking this one left and right. They just renamed it. So I have to say that. But anyways, that's all for now, guys. More of this will come soon, and take care.